There are a handful of true horror classics that set the tone moving forward, like Halloween, Friday the 13th, or The Exorcist. And then there are films that made you audibly say, "What the f*** did I just watch?" And this is where 1983's Sleepaway Camp falls into place. Like, honestly, I am beyond perplexed about what I just watched. Am I as confused as you are? Well, don't worry, because today we are going to break down all of the nonsense and unanswered questions you have and try to explain this film in the easiest way possible. Hello everyone, Jared here, and we're going back in time to discuss 1983's horror film, later becoming a cult classic, Sleepaway Camp. But what about that ending? Well, don't worry, because we are diving into all of sort of the symbolism, the eccentric aunt in this film, and all of the events to lead up to that ending. So sit back and relax as we explain this 1983 horror film, Sleepaway Camp. Oh, it's you? Well, what do you want? Well, so it is safe to say if you are watching this video, then you've watched Sleepaway Camp or need therapy regarding that ending. If not, here's a quick refresher.
Sleepaway Camp opens on a good old 80s slasher trope of a camp. We are then shown a father and two children horsing around on the lake on their tiny sailboat. This is John Baker and his two children, Angela and Peter. The two little schemers then push their father into the water while also tipping the boat over. Flash to a male lifeguard and two girls water skiing. The lifeguard lets one of the girls drive the boat, which is a horrible idea because she goes full speed ahead and chomps up the father and two kids in a horrific accident. Flash forward 8 years now, and we are introduced to Dr. Martha Thomas, who is beyond eccentric and honestly more than likely doing mounds of coke, and her son, Ricky. It is then revealed that Angela from the boating accident earlier had survived and is now living with her aunt and cousin. The aunt continues spouting off about nothing but nonsense, stating, "Oh, I'm almost sure of it." The two are then off to summer camp, where Ricky introduces the shy Angela to all of the notable members of the camp, including his friend Paul, ex-girlfriend Judy, who had to have her name on her shirt because remembering your name is tough at times, rude camp counselor Meg, and muscular the Fonz. Hey! Rocking some of the shortest shorts ever. I mean, I'm surprised his junk just didn't fall out. These shorts might be the scariest part of this whole film. Fast forward a couple days, Angela hasn't eaten anything, so the Fonz takes her back to see the head chef, Artie, to see if he can cook something special up for her. However, as it was alluded to earlier, Artie is a full-blown pervert.
Look at all that young, fresh chicken.
And all he is willing to try to serve up is a cock meat sandwich. Luckily, Ricky saves the day and gets Angela out of there. The next day, Artie is boiling some corn for her. Jeez, look at the size of that f***ing pot. Like, this is straight up comical. Why is there a pot that big? This movie is awesome. Anyways, Artie is trying to boil corn in the largest pot ever made, but this is where the slasher makes their first appearance, pulling the chair from underneath Artie and having 10,000 gallons of boiling water spill all over this child predator. Victim 1 is in the books as the head of the camp covers it up, bribing the other cooks, including Robert Earl Jones, aka James Earl Jones' father, aka the guy who voiced Darth Vader's father. Next up is a 10-minute baseball scene that doesn't add anything to the plot at all, nor does it move it forward, but at least we get this really hairy 37-year-old wearing short shorts and a crop top, and this awesome exchange of words from a bully and Ricky.
Eat and die, Ricky. Eat and live, Bill.
Later that night, it's party time in the rec hall, with Ricky wearing one of the most ridiculous and out-of-place cowboy hats ever, and Angela getting picked on, but finally says her first words to Paul, "Good night." 31 minutes in, and she finally says something. The next couple weeks play out with more bullying done to Angela by Judy and Meg, camp shenanigans like the good old shaving cream prank that results in a kid pulling a knife on them, what? And kids throwing water balloons from a roof and somehow get down roughly 10 seconds later, and other members of the camp dying in mysterious ways to this mysterious slasher. Ooh, scary. One victim drowning out on the lake and a sea snake crawling out of his mouth, while the other quote-unquote had to take a wicked dump and died on the toilet due to bees.
Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah!
This soon draws the attention of the local police, who is rocking a solid mustache. Later that night, Paul is trying to woo Angela, having awkwardly kissed her before. They are now having a lovely romp on the beach in the moonlight until there is this weird flashback to Angela's father and another man in bed, and her brother giggling. Angela snaps back to reality, frightened, and storms off. The next day, Angela is again tormented by the girls being thrown into the lake, but Ricky can't save her because the head camp counselor, Mel, believes that Ricky is the killer, which all sets up the events of the last night of camp.
Okay, now that we're all caught up on Sleepaway Camp, let's get into the last night of Sleepaway Camp leading up to that ending, and then we'll talk about all of the details that lead up to it. Buckle up, it's about to get weird. So it is the last night of Sleepaway Camp, and things begin to take a nasty turn as the killer has yet to reveal themselves, but more and more campers are going to fall victim to whoever it is. The camp counselor Meg, who has sort of been a this whole time, is set to go on a date with Mel, the camp leader, who honestly is like a solid 50 years older than her, which is gross. But she goes next door to shower because the showers in the normal bunk area are full. However, this was a poor decision on her part because the slasher strikes again, stabbing her in the back through the shower, accompanied by some of the best I've been stabbed reactions yet. Switch over to more campers. Angela is then seen talking to Paul outside of the rec hall and tells him to meet her down by the waterfront after the social is over. Things are about to get funky. Mel, the horny old man, is now looking for Meg because she is over an hour late for their Anna Nicole Smith style date. You know, the former Playboy playmate that then married an 89-year-old man strictly for his abundance of wealth and then later died. I mean, I bet those old balls were stretchier than a warm taffy pole on a Georgia summer afternoon. Sorry, I'm getting off topic here. Anyways, Mel is searching for Meg, checking next door only to find her dead in the shower. He swears it is Ricky and vows the madness needs to stop. The slasher continues their bloodbath, now finding the rude attitude to Judy in her bunk, all alone reading a magazine in the dark. A silhouette of the killer is seen in the doorway, but cannot be made out. As they approach Judy, she knows who it is, but gives the audience the best performance of misdirect ever in cinematic history.
Oh, it's you. What do you want? Well?
Whomever the killer is then punches Judy in the face and murders her by sticking a hot curling iron in her, We then get a glimpse of a whole gaggle of campers dead in their sleeping bags, which seems a bit off-brand for this so-called killer, but I mean, whatever, it's an 80s movie, whatever. As we flash over to Mel, who finally catches up to Ricky, blaming him for all of the camp deaths, and tells him that it's going to stop, mercifully beating and slapping Ricky like James Bond in GoldenEye with slappers only. Until Mel looks up only to realize it isn't Ricky, it was someone else, and receives an arrow straight through the throat. The police officer Frank from earlier is hot on the trail trying to track down the killer with what appears to be the largest fleshlight ever in existence, and also rocking. Wait a minute, wait. What the heck is he wearing there? Is that chocolate pudding on his upper lip? What happened to the mustache from earlier? I mean, I know that the first one was bad, but this one is just awful. Now we're on the beach with Angela and Paul, as Angela suggests the two go swimming, or rather skinny dipping. Now flashing over to Susie and the buff the Fonz. As they approach the waterfront, they hear some ominous humming, but as any horror cliche goes, their flashlight goes off. They wander closer and closer to realize it's Angela and Paul. Angela is holding Paul close to her in her lap, continuously with the ominous humming sound. Until boom, flash to a completely different time and place. We are back in Aunt Martha's home as she is talking to someone, spouting off about how they already have a young little boy, but a little girl would be wonderful. As the camera slowly pans in and around, you can't see who she is talking to yet. She continues by saying, "Angela, yes, what a lovely name. I believe it means angel." As the music continues to swell, Aunt Martha states, "I know you're going to love that name, won't you, Peter?" Holy Santa Claus shit. Flashback to the camp as Paul's severed head rolls to the ground. Angela is standing straight up with one of the most horrifying looks I've ever seen in my life. I'm going to be scarred for this for life, honestly. Susie and the Fonz are mortified, stating, "How can it be? Oh my god, she's a boy," with the camera zooming out, exposing a bloodied and nude and penis-toting Angela, who is actually Peter. Wait a minute. Whoa, what? Rewind.
God, she's a boy.
It's a man, baby.
That's right, Angela, or whoever we thought was Angela, was actually Peter this whole time, leading us to one of the most horrific and shocking images in a horror film, or to end a horror film. Now, you're probably thinking, how, who, why, what did I just watch? Well, you and me both. But don't worry, we're going to talk about all of the events that lead up to that and sort of explain that shocking finish to this movie. Okay, I know you're still in shock, even if you've watched this movie like 30 plus years ago, but the huge twist of Sleepaway Camp is that Angela is actually Peter throughout the whole film. Now, this can be explained fairly easily. If we remember back to the beginning of the film with the boating accident, one of the two kids had died. It was never revealed which one, but essentially one of them had bit the dust. Then when the film flashes forward 8 years with the introduction of Aunt Martha.
Save Martha! Why did you say that name?
Forget about that. It is revealed that she is a doctor and she actually completed Ricky and Angela's physicals herself, which she mentioned needs to remain a secret for some reason. As we now know, it's because Angela was actually Peter. If we continue through the film, even more clues can be picked up, such as the hands of the killer are always looking a little bit more masculine and veiny. Angela was conflicted about kissing Paul because in turn it was Peter kissing Paul, another man, which triggered the memories of her father and another man in bed together, and she didn't want that for himself. Or rather, she didn't want that for himself. I don't know, it's a little bit confusing. But the last hint is that of the same scene with the flashback. Both Angela and Peter are sitting on a bed together, and with the bed slowly rotating and almost fading or changing the position of the two. This symbolism is showing us that who we, the audience, think is Peter or Angela may not actually be who their true identity is. And obviously the most obvious reveal or conclusion that Angela is actually Peter is the revelation of what Aunt Martha states. But lastly, by the schlong that Angela, or rather Peter, is modestly swinging at the end. I'm sure it was cold, it was a cold night, don't worry buddy, is the cherry on top, revealing that yes, Angela is actually Peter. And the inner conflict and aggression of having to pretend to be a girl, the bullying, and the loss of the family had caused Peter to go off the deep end and murder all of the camp personnel that had wronged him. So that is one interpretation to one of the most bizarre and shocking, almost horrifying images to any slasher or horror film. However, there is potentially another interpretation if we really dive into things. So again, buckle up, let's do this. So essentially we can go with everything that I just mentioned. Aunt Martha is a bit eccentric, potentially a bit crazy, actually more than likely a lot crazy, and was given responsibility of Peter after the accident. However, much like Aunt Martha mentions, she doesn't want another little boy, but rather a little girl. Wouldn't that be nice? Martha then uses her medical background, know-how, or connections in the medical world to almost forcefully have Peter undergo gender transitioning hormone therapy for her own sake. So even though Peter is still Peter, he now now identifies as the opposite gender and goes by Angela. This would in turn explain why Peter has more feminine features, facial structure, longer hair, and softer voice. And also the fact that Richie never once is like, Mom, why are you making Peter dress like a girl? Instead, due to the gender transitioning, Ricky is okay with everything. It feels normal to him, and then is more likely of kind of a protective brother than rather bros with Angela. So Aunt Martha forcefully opted Peter into becoming the opposite gender, keeping his male genitalia. This then ties in with why everyone at camp had been either mean, rude, or standoffish towards Angela. Most of them, except for Susie and the Fonz, knew Angela used to be a male, but they were all discriminatory amongst members of the LGBTQ community. This bullying, combined with the loss of identity and more than likely depression inside of Angela/Peter, set him off into finally getting the long sought after revenge he was searching for. The end. Or it's just a weird 80s slasher horror film featuring, no pun intended, campy acting that seems to follow many of the tropes that we're used to, but then completely rips the rug from underneath of you at the end, making it one of the most memorable cult classic horror films and twist endings ever in cinematic history. I mean, either or. So that is it, 1983's Sleepaway Camp, a cult classic, finally broken down, explained, and really going in depth on that shocking last image of this film that probably scarred and has remained with a lot of people since the watching of that film. What did you guys think of my ending explained? Did you guys think it went a different way? Did you like my interpretation? I want to know in the comments down below. Anyways though, as always, thank you so much for watching. Watch some more videos up there or right over there, you know, brand new ending explained poorlies. I'm trying to do these once a week. It's usually about one every other week, but there's plenty more to come. There's plenty on my channel. These are fun, these are witty, these are weird. Check them out over there. Follow all of my social media, like this video, subscribe to the JBuck Studios channel, and until next time, we'll see you later.